Hey everybody, this is Gaynor Meilke with Accounting Ignited and Charisma Inc. And this is Moving the Needle, all about digital transformation in the accounting channel. And today we have a very special guest. I'm like super excited that Scott Cytron's with us, and John Higgins, of course, my co-host. So how are you, John?
Doing well, Gaynor. Good to see you. And looking forward to our conversation with Scott this morning. It's going to be interesting to catch his perspective on what's going on with the accounting and accounting technology. So, welcome, Scott. Thank you for joining us today.
I appreciate you having me. Thanks for that.
Yeah, and we've both known Scott for quite a while, so this will be a really interesting conversation. Scott brings many different perspectives on practitioners and what they're doing with tech, what they're doing in their practices, and then maybe the path forward that he sees for practitioners in 2026 and beyond. So, Scott, do you want to let our viewers know a little bit about you if they are not familiar with you?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Gaynor. I have my own PR marketing firm based out of Dallas, and I've been working. I've had that firm for actually more than 30 years. And my son works with me. My son Brian works with me full time. He's actually in there and
Okay.
working right now. And I don't know where I'd be without him. He's been with me about almost, well, a little over 12 years.
Well,
So yeah, and we both of us have journalism degrees. We both are, true writers in a sense, editors, and the practice is communications, PR, and marketing. And I niche in accounting and finance. So when I started the practice, I niched in that originally because I had that sort of background, and a lot of people think I'm a CPA, but of course I'm not. And niched in it, tried to get away from it for a while. I did a lot of healthcare. I did B2B, B2C work. I did work for Pizza Hut and Blockbuster way back. And
well.
yeah, if anybody remembers Blockbuster, that was a thing. And but accounting kept coming back to me. So after, sort of a little less than maybe 10 years into it, I said, okay, I'll just stick with this. And we have other clients outside of accounting, but that's definitely our niche. And I'm a true believer in a writer can write about anything
Hmm.
he or she wants, as long as they've got some experience and some background in that. So whenever we're presented with a writing assignment or a project of some kind with a client, it's a pretty quick study for us in that we don't have to do a lot of upfront research or that kind of thing, especially when it comes to tax and, advisory work and a lot of the finer points, a lot of the niches in accounting.
Yeah.
So
And
we
you
do,
and
yeah, we do a lot of work with Intuit. People may know me from Intuit and maybe may think I'm actually an employee there, but we're not. We're actually agency contractors
hmm
with
Yeah.
Intuit, and I have been working with them for a really long time. I started out doing the accounting blog for them, which now is Firm of the Future.
Mhm.
And I also do the Tax Pro Center, which is their tax blog for customers who have the tax software that Intuit has. And we do other projects for them as well, white papers, case studies. And I had an interview the other day for a case study for somebody who uses Pro Series, a sole practitioner out of Colorado. And I love talking to uh, people in the field. I love talking to CPAs, accountants, EAs, you name it, who are out there doing their thing. And I think
Yeah.
it's, everybody's different. There is no, people, a lot of people outside the profession think, accountants are very cookie cutter and, one is the same as the other. And that's just absolutely, as you all know, not true.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
and I have worked together on different things, and um, I mean, it's yeah, I think we're very like-minded in the fact that there's such a diversity in firms, and I know John, like from a tech standpoint, that's the beauty and also I think the pain for a lot of firms where it's they know some of the standard solutions, but not necessarily how do you put it all together for my like unique firm. So be interesting to get both of your perspectives on like how firms can kind of take that monster and break it down for each other.
I was, Scott, I wanted to ask you, I was trying to recall when we first met because it's been many years. Was it with CPA to Biz? Did I get that?
Oh,
Were you on so were you on the top 10 technologies task force
Yes.
for AICPA?
Yeah, that might have been it, huh?
Yeah, so
cool.
I was at the lab. I went to the lab probably 5 years in a row in Arizona on that,
Okay.
and I actually wrote several books based on that back when people were writing books and publishing them. People still do, but
Yeah.
this was a book, if you think about it, a book on technology that was actually dated after about like 2 months.
Yeah.
AICPA used to print and publish books, and I think I met you there originally, probably along with Roman and Dave and a lot of the other people who were involved back then. And it was Gaynor. It was this lab. It was kind of this classroom lab at the University of Arizona, and where the everybody there tested different technologies, and then we talked about them. And it's supposed to be the top 10 technologies for the year and the five emerging technologies.
Wow.
And
So
I
that,
actually, yeah, and I got that gig because I did a lot of work with AICPA early on and
Mhm.
helped actually start the CITP credential.
how
Yeah, I want to
cool.
see
Yeah,
CITP
yeah,
here.
yeah,
So,
yeah. And then I actually also helped them start the PFS credential. So a lot of work with AICPA over the years, and a lot of really interesting work, and a lot of really dynamic people who have worked there over the years. We're not doing any work with them now, but I miss that. I occasionally get published in the Journal of Accountancy, but
So we talk about the top 10 technologies.
yeah.
You look at today, I think it would be just one top one, probably, right?
that could be.
Yeah.
AI.
Yeah,
Everything's AI.
AI is
So,
everybody's, yeah, AI. If you're an accountant now and you do not know about AI, you've been living under a rock or in a cave on the side of a mountain or something because it's
Yeah.
just absolutely everywhere.
so what's your take on AI, Scott? I mean, as a content creator and working with firms, like
Yeah.
what do you think?
Well, like a lot of other people, I resisted it at first, because like, well, we write, and why would I want to use AI to help me do that? And no, I'm way too proud to do that. Well, now that it's a little bit later, in the evolution of AI, no, we're using AI all the time now. Used it yesterday, used it this morning. I mean, I use it. I use it for silly things like shorten this headline to 45 characters, or
Yeah.
silly things like that. When I know I could probably think about that, but it would probably take me 10, 15 minutes to come up with something, and within like a few seconds, it's there. No, I think AI. I want to emphasize that AI is a tool. I mean, I think it's a
Mm.
tool, like any other tool in an accountant's toolbox. And I say that because, like when we talk about doing PR or marketing with a firm or with a vendor, a service provider, they'll say, okay, we need to do, media relations, and we need to get in, the Wall Street Journal and New York Times, and we need to do this and that. Yeah, but that's only one part of what you should be doing. And I know you all both know that it's only part of what you should be doing. You should have like a lot of different tools that you're using to provide, publicity for your firm or something. So when it comes to I think accountants should understand first and foremost, it's one part of your practice. It's not going to take over anything by any means. And that, and you all know, like at the beginning of this cycle, which now is probably, we started talking about this, what, 4, maybe 5 years ago. Accountants were just really scared that, oh, this is going to take away my career, my work. Like,
Hmm.
okay, so, this vendor is going to process tax returns using AI, and my job is going to be gone. And, then we started talking about advisory work. That's when the advisory conversation kicked in so heavily was, okay, so yeah, a tax return can be commoditized, but it's what you do with that return when you talk to a client about, what it is they need to do or plan for the future, or maybe there's
Hmm.
a way to save something from that tax return for the future, or whatever the case is. So I do believe in AI, but I think it's only one part of your business.
Yeah. I mean, it's as you said, it's a tool, not the brain, at least not yet. And I would say that, the trust relationship that accountants have with their clients is the thing that's going to trump any type of like AI that can be implemented.
Well, and that's huge. I think trust is, I'm glad you brought that up because, compare it to a doctor. Like when you go to a doctor, do you trust your doctor? If you trust your doctor, you're going to believe in what they tell you is right or wrong with you, right?
Right.
So when it comes to an accountant, a lawyer, any of the professional services providers, even an architect or an engineer, you're
Hmm.
going to, if you trust that person, you're going to respect what they're telling you, and you're hopefully going to follow that. I tell a story you all may have heard me tell before about accountants I've worked with over the years for my own personal return and, of course, my business return. And for a long time, I worked with several accountants who never went into any advisory with me about anything. It
Mm.
was just like, okay, here's the return. Here's what you owe. I never got anything back. I don't know who's getting something back, but it's never been me. But, with myself, it's the way it is. But, it's like I say, okay, well, what should I be doing for the future? What should I be planning for? And the answer always is, Scott, you know more about what we do than we do. So,
Yeah.
what is it you want to know? Well, I don't know what I don't know. I'm still not a tax expert. I can write about
Yeah.
it, but I'm not a tax expert. And, I think probably it could be a federal crime for any accountant who is not providing that advisory portion to their clients. And it could be as simple as, like the new car depreciation thing in the
Mhm.
Big Beautiful Act. It could be something like that. Like, don't do it. Don't wait till too late in the year to do it because you'll get more deductions if you do it earlier. Like,
Mm.
I think that's a perfect thing. Like, and it's so simple as saying to your client, "Are you looking at buying a new car in 2026?" What?
Yeah, adding it to the checklist of questions that you're asking people. And we had on Paul Heyman from RC Reports not long ago, and like that's another, you know, point for S corp owners. If we've got accountants serving them, they should be making sure that the reasonable compensation that's being taken is, reasonable in the eyes of the IRS. And that's another simple thing that can be added to a checklist. So I like, that train of thought too on like your clients know way less as, from an accounting perspective than you think they do. And it's like they're coming for you to help them. And there's all kinds of tools out there that can also make that easier. So I know I love that you brought up the AICPA's, it was like the top 10 technologies and the, top five. It's like, do you have any thoughts on like a top five, Scott, from firms that you're working with?
You know, I think that I guess, and I'm not sure if you would call these technologies, but I think it's finding more efficient ways to work is key. And,
Mhm.
now that we're all sort of back to the office, back to work, the pandemic's in the rearview mirror, hopefully. We're not going to go back to that. That I think it's incumbent upon everybody to, again, find ways to be more efficient. And whether that's using AI to write an email for you, or to customize something for you. I think that's very, very important. And I wouldn't template those emails because you want to say something different to everybody, probably, but you could certainly work from a standard, ask AI to provide something for an email and then customize it from there. But I think, everybody I talk to is pretty busy these days. And, we all want to have lives as well.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that's really important because when you don't, you start hitting those stress points where you experience burnout and like you don't want to come to your office, whether that's in your house or away from the house. Uh, and you're just not going to be invested in what you need to do for your business and with your clients. So I think again, just being more efficient with what you're doing is really important. And there's, like if you go to a trade show. Again, I think you're doing yourself a real disservice by not going to that trade show floor.
Mm.
Yeah, it can be really salesy. I mean, let's face it, but
Right.
they're there to sell stuff. You can get some good swag, I guess, along the way. Who needs another pencil? But you still, I think it's a great thing to go and visit with all those vendors. And again, you may not be interested in buying something from a particular
Mhm.
vendor or, looking at their service that closely, but just increasing your knowledge about what's out there in terms of technologies and shortcuts. And,
Mhm.
I think Paul Heyman's business is a very good example of that. I can tell you how many practitioners I talk to that use his service because
Yeah.
there's like, oh, it's like super easy. Even my accountant uses it. And that's what I went through to develop I became an LLC back in, oh, I don't remember what year it was. It's been a while.
Mhm.
And he tried to explain to me reasonable compensation. I was like, okay. So of course, I use
Yeah.
QuickBooks Online, and I started producing all these reports. And, math is not my thing. I mean, let's face it. It's, I have
You and I are kindred spirits,
I have
Scott.
my calculator right here. This is what I use. And, that's really old, but yeah, kindred spirits. But I was like, how do I do this? He's like, well, actually, I have a tool for you. Like, I want you to kind of figure this out on your own if you could. And he started laughing. I'm like, yeah, thank you for the torture. But, again, like using a service like Paul has is, that a lot of people probably still don't know about is a great way to do that. Otherwise, you're coming up with something just kind of off the cuff and you don't know whether it's really right.
Yeah. And
I
to
think you make
go,
a good point, Scott, about the trade shows. I always say that taking a little bit of the time to listen to the sales pitch is a good investment because those are the folks that really understand the technology. They understand, kind of how things are evolving, and you can learn a lot from those vendors at the trade shows. And I think the whole issue of just the accountants using technology more to be efficient, as you were saying, Scott, is like um, that is so important because not just to be efficient, but I think we have to understand that our clients are going to be a lot more knowledgeable than ever before. They're going to be asking much tougher questions. So if they hear the term reasonable compensation, you can have clients who are going to do all their research on ChatGPT before they even come and visit with you as the
Mhm.
CPA. And so I think it's very important that CPAs understand that part of the this whole AI evolution that it's going to raise everybody's knowledge level. So we have to be prepared to serve our clients in that environment.
I
Yeah.
think that's absolutely right, John, because, if you think about it, like I'm watching The Pit right now, which is that medical show on HBO Max. And there was a patient that came in with his parents, and I don't remember what he had wrong with him. It's always something catastrophic on that show, but it's a really good show. But the mother was on her phone researching, what was wrong with her son. And Noah Wiley's character said, "Get off your effing phone and listen to what I have to say because I'm the expert." So again, like in what you just said, John, like, okay, you could do your research and your clients are going to be knowledgeable about it. So all they have to do is Google something or go on to ChatGPT, which is now being used as a search engine.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
they're all being used as that right now. And you can even on Google, you get that AI summary at the top whenever you Google something. So yeah, you want to, it's not like you want to one up your clients. You want to help educate them and guide them on what is the
Mhm.
most informed decision they can make. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's absolutely true. And accountants are the experts in that field, and they should be. And because of that, yeah, go visit with those vendors. And if any vendor is watching this or listening to this, don't sit in a chair behind the.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Please stop doing that. Like, get out in front of the table and greet people and be dynamic for God's sakes.
A little PR advice from Scott here. I want to go back though to what you were saying on, the giving clients the best advice. I also think there's a great legal burden too, right? I mean, you make a mistake in the, ER and there's going to be repercussions, but there's repercussions for the client and the practitioner when there's things that aren't addressed that probably should be, right? So it's like there's a fiduciary duty there, like in my opinion, for the client relationship, which builds the trust, which, going back to AI, I don't know if you've got any thoughts, Scott, on, you know, how clients use that for advisory or even content. I know I'm always cautioning people that there's copyright issues with just taking things from AI and calling it your own because they're not.
Yeah, that whole area still has to be figured out. I mean, the whole
Hmm.
thing with the copyright. What I recommend clients do is if they're going to use AI is say they did up front. Like you
Yeah.
could, and you could even have at the bottom like a note, like note, Gemini or ChatGPT, whatever you're using, Claude was used to provide this content, to you or whatever it is you want to say. But I think that's probably a good way to do that. But like you said, you also have to fact check. Like I just took a transcript from that tax update that I'm working on for Intuit, a transcript from a session held at a VCon in November, and fed it into something I just learned about, which is Notebook LM,
Mm,
which I would like to talk about in just a minute. But the I took and put it in that, and I have to go through line by line and edit and rewrite
yeah.
and make sure that what's in there that's factual is indeed correct. Of course, I have a CPA who's going to review that on my end because I'm not a tax expert. I fully admit I'm not. So I've got someone internal at Intuit who's going to review that, who can make sure that that's the case, and then he can decide if it needs to go through legal review after
Hmm.
that. But yeah, when you're providing that kind of content to your clients, you definitely want to make sure you just don't copy and paste
Hmm.
what's provided to you because, first of all, clients can begin to see through that. It's very,
100%.
a lot of that content can be very salesy. It can be very, you can recognize something immediately that's AI when there's very colorful adjectives used, like the
Yeah.
gloriously superior Gaynor Meilke, you know,
Oh,
is,
wow.
yeah. And so, you don't want to do that. You just want to say, Gaynor did blah, 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 blah. You don't want to provide all
Yeah.
those adjectives in there because that's ridiculous. But yeah, I think AI has gotten smarter in not doing so much of that. The other thing I laugh at is the M dash
Mm.
thing that's going it's going
Yeah,
around.
glad you brought that up because I've noticed that too.
When I teach writing from time to time, and I teach accountants writing, I teach kind of other people writing as well. And when I teach other writers about writing, there's always a debate about the final series comma,
Mm,
to use it or not use it, and now the
yeah.
M dash. And I know, John, this is probably like foreign for you, but
Yeah, I was gonna say, educate me on the M dash.
the M dash is just a long dash, and
Yeah.
what AI is famous for doing now is using M dashes. So I'll
Okay.
say uh, the small brown fox jumped over the fence with an M dash, a long dash, and got into the barnyard.
Yeah.
And really, in reality, you don't need that M dash for that. So when I go through AI now, AI content that's generated, I've been taking a lot of those M dashes out, even though I still believe in an M dash. It's
Yeah.
basically a phrase that can stand that can't stand on its own. It's just the same thing between commas. It's just,
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the best way to think about it. So, but a lot of people, I had a client, we had a client that I don't no longer have, but I wasn't using AI to write their content, and I was a big proponent of M dashes. They were like, AI was used to write this. I know he used it to write it. Like, no, I didn't. I just like using M dashes.
Yeah. It's you and I are M dash people for sure. It's like,
Yeah,
but going back to I guess how firms can start using some of these AI tools, you can create a lot of content using AI, but the review process is important. So,
right,
don't just throw the AI content out on your blog or in an
right.
email, especially if it's technically, needs to be technically reviewed because that can cause more harm than good for sure.
Yeah, I would be wary of some of the services that are out now that provide content to firms where you can buy a subscription for,
Yeah.
let's say a tax update, or you can whatever the topic is, they can provide it. And there are a lot of really solid vendors out there. We've worked with them over the years,
Hmm.
but if you're a practitioner, I would absolutely recommend that you review that content when you get it because first of all, you want to customize it for your firm and your clients, but second, just don't take it verbatim, really review it. And I know that sounds like it's going to take a long time, but if you're providing that content to your clients, you want to take that time to do that. You could outsource that function to somebody who could do that for you, like one of us, or you can try doing it yourself, but definitely, don't take it verbatim, review it before you provide it. And again, I think clients are very wary of when you're trying to sell them something.
Yeah, I think Scott, that's a really good point about the review time. Because I spent a lot of time thinking about, how is AI going to affect the accounting profession? And in one of the areas where I think it's going to have the biggest impact is it's going to transform us from being more of a doer profession to a reviewer profession. We're going to have
Mhm.
to, not just on our writing and things like that, but any of our work product is going to have to be, more carefully reviewed. And as you two were talking about the M dash, I'm thinking that would be a great blog for maybe the two of you to do together or something. Just the top 10 things that can identify that the content was AI generated.
A lot of bullet points without a lot of narrative explanation.
Yeah, because people like me, gosh, it comes right out of the AI. It looks pretty darn good, and you get lazy. If you get lazy, and then you don't look
Yeah.
for those things like an M dash. Now I'm gonna be looking for those all the time.
I will say too, like, because we've got a wide age of ranges, is that right?
Range of ages.
Range of ages in the
Yeah,
accounting
range.
profession. Um, there is a lot of credibility for people who may, think they're, you know, past their, prime in terms of tech, having that, I guess I would say fundamental knowledge of being able to review without the aid of all of these tools as well. And I know I kind of align it with, and Scott will appreciate this, we've both written a lot without the use of AI. And so it's a different, we can scan things pretty quickly and see where there's the gaps and errors. And same
Mhm.
thing with an accountant who's not used AI in or any of these tools before. So there's an advantage there, and I think that's something that people who have come up as digital natives,
Mhm.
they can learn from, the people, who the
Experience.
footsteps they're following,
Yeah.
that how to do a review properly and not gloss over some things that might be missed. So I think
I think
there's
so.
balance for sure.
I think so, and I don't think you're ever too old to learn something like that.
Oh, of course
Even
not.
if you're
Or too
a
young.
even if you're a partner in a firm and you're looking for, maybe you're going to retire in the next few years, and I don't know never know what's going on with people, but I don't think you're ever too old to learn something like that.
Mhm.
And one of my pet peeves are practitioners who say they're too old to learn new technology. Well, that's not really right.
Yeah,
I mean, think about it. You're never too old to learn something
you
new.
can
I don't know
leverage
what that
it,
is.
Yeah.
right? And I
Yeah,
think that's the way to look at it is you can get an advantage by learning something new, and there's a lot of resources to learn it. But the opposite is true as well, is that, if you're leaning on all of these tools, it's really important to also take the time to like learn the technical accounting and tax knowledge to underpin the efficiency that way.
absolutely.
Expertise and efficiency together.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know I mentioned Notebook LM a few minutes ago.
Hmm.
I just discovered that, like, wow. I don't know if you all have ever looked at that, but it's a
Yeah.
Google tool. But just Google, just put in your search bar, Notebook LM, and it'll come up. And
Okay.
you can, it does what the other AI uh, platforms do, like ChatGPT or Gemini. I use Gemini mostly now, which is a Google product. But it also does some very interesting things. Like you could tell it to create a slide deck of 10 slides based on this article or based on this, whatever it is you're writing. You could have it do infographics. You could have it do audio. You could even do a video from it. And if you've got Google Tools, it's all included. I mean, there's no cost for any of this stuff, and it'll keep your information. You can also tell it to go do research for you. And I was just having this conversation last night with somebody at Intuit about how more intelligent AI has gotten with regard to, it used to be just you put in a question or whatever it is you want to do, and it came back to you within like 30 seconds, whatever it was. Now there's a fast response you can choose or
Yeah.
deep thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
That's
deep
like
thinking is
Copilot.
kind of a relatively new thing, and like even the deep thinking, it takes like 45 seconds, maybe. I mean, it's like, okay, who doesn't have 45 seconds, to wait for something? But I would definitely recommend doing a deep think on something because it actually will go and do even more invasive content for you based on what you provided. And again, it's all in the prompt. We didn't talk about prompts yet
Yeah.
with AI, but prompts are really, really important. I heard the former PR head of Southwest Airlines talk a couple years ago about when they used AI to solve a pretty big issue they had. She told us that they worked on the prompt for over a year
Wow. That must have
just
been
to,
a big issue.
just to get it correct, and making sure that prompt for their AI, and they had a proprietary system for AI, obviously
Mhm.
Southwest Airlines, and they worked on that for over a year before they got it right.
Yeah.
And it's so true with the prompt because basically you're asking AI to do something for you, but you want to make sure it's going to come back in a way that's going to help you. So, for example, if you have a niche in medical, and you're trying to write something based on content, that you provide to it. Like if you see an article on the web and you want to rewrite that for yourself, of course, provide that attribution in there for that original article, but also say, provide guidance for my clients who work in medical professions, that
Yeah, a
kind
couple
of thing.
things
Like,
I would add on to that concept of the prompt and the importance of it, because I do a lot of AI advisory and education, and one of the things I recommend to CPAs is that in a firm you should have a prompt champion,
mhm.
somebody who's kind of like the overall gatekeeper of how prompts are created, and that then you
Mm.
should really evolve to have a firm specific prompt for certain things. So like if you're an auditor and you always have to, on your audits, you have to analyze executive compensation agreements. The firm should come up with one prompt that everybody should be using. Because as we go down this road, things, the legal, the legislation is going to change, the professional standards are going to change, and I'm sure that part of that's going to be being able to explain your prompt and to justify that in the case you get all the way to litigation and things like that. The other thing you mentioned about the LM notebooks, and they're all kind of coming out with a similar feature. So like ChatGPT, they call theirs projects. And so that's a great thing for CPAs to know because you could have a notebook or a project for each client, and you do all your prompts and all your content in that client's project. Think of it like a folder, it's like a file folder, but it's for all the chats. And the way these tools work now, they take all of those previous prompts and conversations related to that client into account when you create a new prompt. So it just knows about, it's like a seasoned senior accountant in a firm that project folder knows everything you've done with AI relative to that client. So
Yeah.
that's a great. I'm glad you brought that up, the notebook concept there, Scott.
And that, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
refining the way that you're asking the questions because it's all about the questions you ask. I mean, it's just like
Yeah.
coaching or anything like that, where you you only are activating these tools by what you're asking them to do. It's not like they are like a magic guru that knows exactly what you're thinking, and you have to tell them what you're thinking.
I think, yeah, I agree with that. And John, I think that's a really good point to have a prompt champion in a firm. You might even look at, and I'm sure you provided this information, like a committee to do that. Like it could be made up of
Mm.
a tax junior, a tax senior, somebody at audit,
Mhm.
somebody at, just like you would have a committee for anything else within a firm that's large enough to
Right.
have a committee. Now, if you're a small firm, of course, you might designate somebody on your staff to do that, or do it
Yeah.
yourself. But yeah, definitely. And then keep track of that on as something as simple as a Google Doc and,
The
or some
library. Yeah.
kind of sheet or something that everybody can work from. I think that's an
Yeah.
excellent idea.
And that's also where expanding your bandwidth with team members who may not necessarily be accountants, but they're technologists and can help you master the prompts and master these tools so that the practitioners can actually like do the review and the advisory. So you're not sitting around trying to figure out which prompts are we going to use. You can
Yeah.
have a consultant or somebody like that help you. But yeah, I mean, that's a really good point because some tools now I know like we work with Canopy a lot and they've got an advisory tool in Canopy with a lot of different prompts that are already built in and it does for each firm as you're using it it gets to know your clients and it refines all of those prompts so it's there's tools that can help you, there's consultants that can help you, but going back to what you said, Scott, your firm is never too old or never too young to, really master how to use these tools so that you can leverage them and deliver your client the best product and a great experience.
Yeah, I think one other technology I'd like to talk about here is the messaging technologies like Slack or
Oh yeah.
Teams or one of those. Yeah, Slack is we use Slack. We use Slack with our clients. And what's so cool about that is you could set up a different channel for every client
Mm-hmm.
and just talk to those people on there. And yeah, it's a little annoying sometimes when they Slack you, but you could put parameters on that. I don't want to hear from anybody after 6 p.m. or you could, just educate your clients on how to use it better. But it's really a great way. I mean, if you think about it, it's better than a text because with a text, you don't always get you can't do an attachment on a text like you can on Slack. A text is great. I mean, we do use text with clients a lot, but I do love messaging technologies now because they've really evolved from where they were, and the cost really is pretty manageable, especially for a
Sure.
firm. Think about all those conversations that they don't have to have over the phone because they can use something like Slack for a one-off thing. Like, I had a case the other day where I was asking my accountant something on a charitable donation that I made, and I was able just to Slack him directly, and he answered almost right away, because he was at his desk and had his computer up, and like I didn't have to bother him over email or bother him with a text or even a phone call. So it
Well, I
was
think the important byproduct of that, Scott, is that for knowledge sharing. So when you bring on a new hire, you say, "Hey, I don't have time to train you today. Just go read the Slack messages for this
Oh
client for the
yeah.
last year and get familiar with the whole conversation, with the issues and such."
great point. Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually had a couple of firms who have turned that into a service for their clients. So if you want Slack access, then that's,
Nice.
an extra line item.
Yeah.
So,
Great idea because they don't know how to do any of that. I mean,
Right.
a client knows a lot about what they do, a doctor
yeah.
knows about what their business is, but they don't know how to do stuff like
Yeah,
this.
your doctor's not letting you Slack them. So it's
No,
like if your
we haven't gotten there
accountant
yet.
will, they
Yeah.
it's a premium, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've
So that's
got a
great.
concierge practice that we're a member of, but yeah, we haven't gotten to the Slack thing yet. I don't think they quite want to do that, but I can
No,
text him and he'll answer.
yeah. So that's I think all of this tech, there's a lot of different ways that you can put it together to make it work for your firm. And I mean, we could like have a week-long conversation about everything we've seen and everything that is yet to come in the accounting channel. So we'll have to have Scott back
Yeah. Sure.
and have another discussion maybe closer to ensuring success or after
I
ensuring
appreciate that
success.
very much. Yeah, I enjoyed this. I hope
Yeah,
some folks got some good out of it.
no
I
doubt.
know I did. I learned a lot between the two of you. Anything that can help me be a better communicator is a good thing.
You're going to go look for those M dashes now, aren't you?
That's right.
Yeah. M dashes, bullets, very little narrative. That's like dead giveaway that it's AI generated. And I mean, we've turned things away, or made people like rework them.
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
If we're not writing it, I'm sure Scott's done this too. It's like we can't submit things that are like obviously AI to credible publications because
Yeah, right.
it doesn't look good on anybody, put it
Right.
that way.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah,
and
at AICPA now, even with the Journal of Accountancy, like they'll say, was AI used to write this? I mean,
yeah,
they'll ask that question every
yeah.
time. It's like, no, it wasn't used. It was used maybe for a research thing in one paragraph or something.
Yeah.
You can disclose that, but they want to know. I mean, they want to know up front if AI was used, and publications should be asking those questions.
Yeah. Well, same with Amazon. If you're publishing books on Amazon, they ask you if AI was used and you have to check the box. So
Yeah,
it's definitely, I think the future of AI is going to contain a lot of legal parameters
Yeah.
definitely.
in all professions. It's going to have to.
Yeah.
So with that, we'll sign off for now for moving the needle. But Scott, it's just a pleasure to always talk with you, and
Yeah,
we'll hopefully see you in person soon.
hope
And
so.
Yeah.
and
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate you joining us today. It's been a
yeah.
Thank
good
you, John.
conversation.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you. Take care, everybody.